Thank you, Dennis, for the introduction. First and foremost, let me thank the organizer for the invitation to be here to present a small portion on this biofuel issue. I arrived here the day before yesterday after 25 hours of flight from Kuala Lumpur. So right now it's 12 a.m. in Kuala Lumpur, so it's past my bedtime. So I hope I won't fall asleep on you during the presentation. Okay, so we've heard speakers talking about the potential of corn and sugarcane in the production of ethanol. We in Malaysia have embarked on task to consider the potential use of palm oil as biodiesel, source for biodiesel. So I'm going to present to you the case we have in Malaysia, although the result has not been very encouraging so far. So the outline of my talk this morning will be on the Malaysian palm oil industry and its growing economy, a brief outlook on the world palm oil production, the potential of palm oil as biofuel, in this case as biodiesel, some glimpse into the environmental impact of oil palm plantation. I'm sure you've heard about this in the international media, NGO reports and all that. Issues about occupational hazard that are associated with this industry, and the conclusion. Okay, for those of you who have never been to our part of the world, we are located in this region called the Southeast Asia region, and it is a group of 10 nations. So this is Malaysia here on the peninsula as well as on the island of Borneo, and here is Indonesia. And between the two countries, we produce 85% of the palm oil product in the world. Yeah? And actually the climate is very suitable for the growing of oil palm in these two countries. There has been attempt to grow palm oil up north, but we know that we are helping Cambodia to introduce the industry there, but they can only do it in the southern part because up north is too dry for the growth of this palm. Okay. Now, the Malaysian palm oil industry has been around for quite some time now, I think over 100 years. And the palm actually is not native to Malaysia, it was brought over from Africa. Yeah? And we have made it into a cash crop, as well as a food crop. And currently, Malaysia is the second largest producer of palm oil after Indonesia. We used to be number one, but now we are second to Indonesia. They have a bigger potential. As you can see, the area available to them is much, much larger than Malaysia. But currently, we have 5 million hectares of plantation in 2011. So that constitutes almost 14% of our land area. So it's quite a significant acreage. However, Indonesia consumes some of the product that they generated. So Malaysia is the largest exporter of palm oil and still is, and palm product amounting to 24.3 million metric ton in 2011. Since 2010, the industry has been identified as one of the 12 national key economic areas under the Economic Transformation Program. So this is a program by the government to spearhead the country into a developed nation by 2020. So in order to help us achieve this, we have identified the palm oil industry as one of the key economic areas for our country. The focus, however, is not to increase the acreage that is being planted with oil palm, but to increase productivity, to increase production to 6 metric ton per hectare per year. It's already a very productive crop, but we intend to increase productivity further through genetic methods and so on. Another is on the value-added downstream activity like processed food, oleo derivative, phytonutrients, and palm biodiesel. So palm biodiesel is one of the prospects that has been identified to value-added the oil palm product that we have. Yeah? But it is a valuable commodity that can be turned into many products. One of the more promising one is the phytonutrient. Oil palm is rich in alpha, beta carotene, tocotrienol, which are potent antioxidant. Okay, this is how the plantation looks like, and they can be very huge, yeah, in the remote areas. This show farmer harvesting the crop. Nowadays, the trees are getting shorter and shorter, yeah, due to new breeds that are being produced. Harvesting, which creates some occupational hazard, which I would mention a little later. And this is how the palm fruit looks like. In terms of palm oil export, most of it are still in the crude palm oil component. Okay? So our focus is to increase this component to value added the product, okay? So that we can maximize the industry, okay? Rather than, as I say, expansion in acreage and all that, which is getting some pressure from other quarters, yeah, to manage this industry in a more sustainable manner. We are investing a lot in research and consultation to improve the product, especially the oleochemicals, and also the potential of using or turning it into biodiesel. In terms of the economy, there's no doubt that the palm oil industry is very valuable to the country because it generated a huge amount of economy for our country and also Indonesia. World palm oil production more than tripled between 1995 to 2011. So the global demand for the palm oil product are very strong. It contributes significantly to the economies of Malaysia and Indonesia, which between the two of us contribute 85% of the world supply. It is, fortunately, we don't have winter in Malaysia, so we are productive. I mean, the agriculture sector is productive all through the year. However, weather does affect. For example, heavy rainfall has disrupted harvesting and heavy demand. Both play a role in escalating the palm oil price to over $1,000 per metric ton in 2011. So that has created strong demand. And in terms of its contribution to our economy, it is the fourth contributor to Malaysia's economy, accounting for 8% of our gross national income per capita. So that's very significant. So it is a very important economy to us. And the main importers of Malaysia's palm oil are China, yeah? And they are also importing a lot from Indonesia. We are competing with Indonesia for a share of the Chinese market. Pakistan, the EU, India, and of course also the United States. Yeah? This is the vegetable oil world production share. You can see oil palm contribute more than 30% of the share. So it is a significant contribution to the vegetable oil world's production. So you can see here the palm oil production by country in million metric ton, yeah, where Malaysia and Indonesia dominate the supply, contributing to more than 85%. There are efforts by some other countries like Thailand, Nigeria, Colombia, to also invest in this industry, but they are still far behind the two leading countries here. As I said, palm oil has many uses. It was traditionally used as cooking oil, even in Africa in those days, but it has been developed. We have a very active palm oil research arm in Malaysia that help to generate all these other important products, food additive. It also been used as industrial lubricant, cosmetic ingredient, but this phytonutrient is a very promising prospect. In fact, maybe more promising than biodiesel. And also recently it has been used as a potential feedstock in biodiesel production. So the plan is to combine palm biodiesel at 5% component with 95% petroleum diesel. The palm oil has a clear advantage as a potential biofuel source. When compared to other sources, it is the most productive oil crop. It is cheaper than any other vegetable oil used in biodiesel production. And it is a perennial crop with life cycle of 25 years. So it can be very productive over a long, significant duration of time. In fact, if you see the graph of our yield per hectare, it is in fact declining. The reason for this is that the plantation owners are delaying the replanting because of the good cash they can get for selling this oil. They don't want to stop. They want to keep producing. So the yield is decreasing because the trees are getting to the end of the productive period. This is the yield of oil palm in comparison with other raw material that may be used for biodiesel production. And you can see here in terms of yield tons per hectare per year, oil palm has a clear advantage over the other potential crops like rapeseed, soybean, sunflower, jatropha. We are also experimenting with this. This is another potential oil-producing crop that is non-food, so it has a potential in that sense. Okay. This is a comparison of the yield with the amount of mileage that you can travel on yield per hectare. Yeah? As you can see, palm biodiesel is quite significantly more yielding than the other. And research has shown that we can actually maximize the yield from oil palm, and there is a potential of future productivity in this source of biofuel. When compared to petroleum diesel, biodiesel from palm oil has some advantages in its chemical and physical characteristic. A good point to note would be the sulfur content. As you can see here, the sulfur content is much lower. and diesel is a contributor to sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere. And recently, they have developed this variety of variant of palm biodiesel, which have a very low pour point. So we call it winter grade biodiesel, which might be useful as a product to be sold in the cold countries. And in biodiesel, they refer it to the cetane number instead of the octane number. You can see that it also has some advantage here. And the other advantage that it has is the carbon residue. Carbon residue, so it can be good for the engine in terms of carbon deposit in the engine would be less compared to the petroleum diesel. Of course, there are some disadvantages like it has a higher viscosity and a higher flash point. So the potential is there, and the future product that can be produced from this palm oil biodiesel is also very promising. For example, the low pour point palm biodiesel, which is not yet on production scale, but is showing a lot of promise. Okay, then we have palm biofuel production in Malaysia so far. Unfortunately, we're not doing very well. 56 licenses has been issued under the Biofuel Industry Act. However, only 25 biofuel plants have been built. The reason for this is that petroleum diesel is getting a good amount of subsidy from the government, and as such, the crude palm oil used as biodiesel cannot compete with this. And diesel vehicle use in Malaysia is very small, 5% of the private vehicle volume. And initially, the plan was to use this B5 biodiesel, 5% biodiesel in government vehicle, but the consumption there is also very small. And because of the non-profitable scale of this, the petroleum company are reluctant to set up B5 blending facility. A nationwide B5 mandate would translate into a biodiesel consumption of only 500 tons. So the potential for local consumption of biodiesel is not significant. The only way we can do this is we can export biodiesel to other countries like the EU. Now, there are some environmental impact of oil palm which has been made known, both locally and globally. But this has been in the past because we have grown oil palm over the years. So if we were to change from oil palm producing cooking oil and also palm product to biodiesel, it will not change in terms of the impact that much. Of course, deforestation is an issue because 15% of our land area are covered with oil palm nowadays. But now we have more strict regulation in terms of environmental impact assessment that need to be done. Loss of tropical biodiversity is also an issue, but now Malaysia is participating in this RSPO certified roundtable sustainable palm oil production. So 48% RSPO certified. Soil erosion, when you have large plantation, clearing of forests, liquid effluent from oil palm mill, the government used to issue contravening license because some of this oil palm mill cannot meet our own regulatory standard, but that was in the past. Now they are more stringent on this. Air pollution from oil palm mill. So most of the pollution, water and air, come from the refining of oil palm. And during the El Nino years in 1997, we had some problem with plantation burning. One of the way that they would clear all tree, of course, the cheapest would be to burn them, and this has caused some widespread fires and also a few occupational hazards. So this is still happening, but the government is clamping down on the oil palm plantation owners. Some of them indiscriminately direct discharge waste into the waterways. And Sabah is one of the states that is very much involved in oil palm plantation. Here you can see 219 compounds has been issued, including 13 oil palm, against polluter, including 13 oil palm mills. Okay. This was the haze that we experienced during the El Nino years in 1997. So the initial burning of old oil palm tree in the plantation and also the clearing of forests have actually spread into the nearby forests and caused extensive burning. And during that time, we experienced a very heavy load of air pollution. Kuala Lumpur, for example, Kuching, which is located on the island of Borneo, experienced a PM10 level as high as 700 microgram per meter cube. So that was a very bad year. Some occupational health hazard in the oil palm industry. I think somebody will be talking about occupational hazard after this, but in relevant to the oil palm industry, we have some ergonomic issues during harvesting because they were manually handling the fruits, so causing ergonomic problem like low back pain and injury. Eye injury during fruit harvesting when they use the sickle to harvest the fruit. You have debris flying into the eyes if they don't have protection. The fronds of the oil palm is thorny, so that can cause. Interestingly, in the oil palm estate, we have a lot of rats because they feed on the oil palm fruit, and the snake feed on the rat. So we have had serious snake bites in the oil palm estate. But now they're using barn owl to feed on the rat as a control for the rat. And pesticide use in any agriculture is a problem. For example, paraquat is used for weed control because the ground has to be free of weed for the oil palm to be productive. But now they are combining cattle grazing. They found that oil palm estates are good as cattle grazing ground. So the cattle will graze and remove the weed, and this exclude the need for the use of extensive use of pesticide. Okay, in conclusion, due to the high demand, I believe the oil palm industry will continue to remain an important economic driver for the Malaysian and the Indonesian economy. So it's not an industry that will probably go away in many, many years to come. And palm oil, as it is, has a great potential as a source of biofuel. However, at current crude palm oil prices, palm biofuel is not yet viable. So palm biofuel is actually competing with the other use of palm oil. Introducing high-yielding oil palm trees and value-adding downstream palm product will help to cushion the environmental damage. Instead of increasing acreage under oil palm, we are concentrating on improving the yield and diversifying the product that can be generated from this palm oil. And of course, we are focusing on responsible plantation management. Many of these plantations are huge companies, so they should be responsible in putting together a better and a more sustainable management of this oil palm. but it's not easy to control because some of them are located in remote areas, accessible only by helicopters and so on. So, they are out of sight of the regulator. But the government is doing a lot to help improve this because most of the environmental and occupational health issues are nothing that challenging. It can be done. It's a matter of the commitment from the plantation managers and owners. Okay, with that, thank you very much. I hope that has given you a little glimpse into the oil palm industry in our part of the world. Thank you.